and welcome to a brand new episode of the podcast entitled Couch Potatoes Unite! This is a podcast based on a blog of the same name because we live a life so strange it has to be true. It's our calling, our duty, and our name, darn it! My name is Kylie and I love TV. If you feel the same, keep listening and or checking out the blog at couchpotatoesunite.wordpress.com. As you're bound to find some common ground or something you like. For Couch Potatoes Unite, we're all about the wonders and the unique long-form storytelling of the small screen. CPU, ! Wishes you a happy spring and hopes you've been following releases of brand new episodes of the podcast on Wednesdays, as well as new blog entries on some Tuesdays, and as always, we have several more new episodes on the way. Because the panelists and I live lives behind our podcast, the episodes are published once per week. Subscribe to the blog or the podcast via iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and via Google Play to stay on top of brand new episodes. Episodes already published discuss a variety of shows around the water cooler, including but not limited to Broadchurch, New Girl, Game of Thrones, Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Gotham, Supernatural, The 100, Once Upon a Time, Stranger Things, Doctor Who, the Arrowverse, including Arrow, Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, and Supergirl, and the Marvel's Netflix series, including Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist. Plus, more episodes are in the works, including revisits for How to Get Away with Murder, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, and our American Horror Story series covering Roanoke, a final visit with our Vampire Diaries panel to say goodbye to the long-running and ending series in a two-part episode. Plus, we'll be launching a new panel covering Sense8, a new series anniversary retrospective about the Buffyverse, covering Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel, and because we also look back at shows now past, we'll be looking back at Third Rock from the Sun and Marvel's Agent Carter. What's more, CPU from time to time goes live. We've appeared at Comedy Outlet Mondays at Dog Story Theater and at Grand Rapids Comic-Con in Grand Rapids, Michigan while streaming live on Facebook. More live appearances are being planned, so make sure you like us at our Facebook page, our Twitter, follow us at CPU Podcast, our Instagram at Couch Potatoes Unite and or our Pinterest at CPU Podcast, or subscribe to the blog, our YouTube channel, our iTunes channel, our Stitcher Radio channel, or find us on Google Play. In the meantime, if you don't hear your show in this podcast format, fellow panelists and I still write reviews and we're always seeking new panelists, so if you have any interest in joining the discussion, say hello by finding us at any of those outlets I've mentioned. At the very least, stop by and leave us a thumbs up, comment, or review. We like feedback, but don't vogue and get too feisty with us. We are sensitive. We are, okay? Today we are around the water cooler and recapping the final abbreviated season, specifically season 6 of Grimm, which aired from January 6, 2017 to March 31st, 2017 on NBC. Grimm is an American occult detective police procedural drama series, a cop drama with a twist, a dark and fantastical project about a world in which characters inspired by Grimm's fairy tales exist, although the stories and characters inspiring the show are also drawn from other sources. Homicide investigator Nick Burkhart, played by David Giuntoli of the Portland Police Department, learns he is descended from a line of guardians known as Grimms, charged with keeping balance between humanity and Wesen, or mythological creatures of the world. Wesen is the German word for being or creature. Throughout the series, he must battle against an assortment of dangerous creatures with help from his Wesen friend Monroe, played by Silas Weir Mitchell, and his partner, Detective Hank Griffin, played by Russell Hornsby. Many of the episodes are loosely based on stories published by the Brothers Grimm, albeit with considerable artistic license. Other episodes are based on other sources, including fables and legends not published by the Brothers Grimm. Our Grimm panel of CPU vets, namely Kristen, Nick, and Jen, who joined together earlier this year to bring CPU up to speed on this supernatural procedural thriller and cult favorite, are back to send us off and say goodbye to the long-running show in this two-part series. In this first episode, we'll digest the Swan Song Season 6, in a second episode, we'll look back at the entire series. As always, it should be noted that all of our panelists have viewed the entire series and may discuss sensitive plot points. For those of you who haven't watched any of Grimm and plan to catch up at some point, listen at your own risk, as there are going to be major spoilers, and because it's the end of the series, they'll be pretty major. Welcome back, panel. How are you?
Hello.
Hi. Good.
Are you sure, Jen?
Nope.
Oh, no. Well, what we're going to do before we start talking about season 6, which was exciting and wonderful and happy and sad, and I don't even want to talk about it that much because it means it's the end. But what we're going to do is check the panel's temperature. Of course, if you follow our podcasts and you've been following our ongoing panels, you know that we check temperature with the standard CPU character question, which changes with each show we do. And I have slightly tweaked the standard CPU character question this time, although not much. There was some tweakage, not a lot of tweakage. But I want to find out where the panel is nowadays. Are you ready, panel?
Yes.
Okay, good. That sounded ready. So, did you watch Grimm because you truly love this show and the identity of a Grimm? For you, it's more than loving this show. Grimm is life, because you are a Grimm or want to be a Grimm, like Nick Burkhart. Do you watch it because your significant other watches it and because you love the world of Grimm and of Vesson, most likely because you're already part of that world yourself, like Rosalie Calvert? Did you watch it because your partner watches it and you're loyal to your partner, and or because it's thrilling for you to be part of this secret supernatural hunter circle, to know the specific secret Grimm language, to recognize signs of voguing, and to make a real difference with sources of evil and unrest you could never make sense of before, like Hank Griffin? Did you watch it because your best friend watches it, and or because you particularly enjoy, in fact you're a geek for, the show's deeply historical mythological aspects, a fiction proprietary to the show that has been derived from actual history and from the Grimm fairy tales themselves, like Monroe? Did you watch it and you enjoyed it, but it had to grow on you? You were skeptical of it at first, often making wisecracks about it, but you eventually came to be invested, though the transition was awkward, not unlike the onset of your lycanthrope condition, like Sergeant Andrew Wu. Did you watch it, but you have complicated feelings about it? Sometimes you love it, sometimes you hate it, because you've learned somehow to be afraid of Grimm, or were recommended to stay away from Grimm. Grimm might be a guilty pleasure for you, but also a good influence on you, like Adeline Shade. Did you watch it but are not sure if you liked it? You watched it as a matter of professional interest, but you've generally grown to hate the main character for reasons that only you can explain, because we certainly don't understand this turn of events, like Captain Sean Renard. Or you didn't watch it, or you don't watch it anymore because you became a Hexenbeast, and then in order to deal with your new life as Vesson, you subverted your former personality to control your power and your emotions, including your prior love for the Grimm, though you are willing to give it another chance or find a way to bring it back into your life in a way that best works for you now that some human emotion has reemerged within you, like Juliet Silverton, also known as Eve. Who would like to start?
I will.
Hi, Nick!
Hi.
Last time you were Monroe.
That sounds about right. I would stick with that, but I think I like this season a lot more, so leaning towards Nick. Kind of Monroe, kind of Nick. More Monroe, probably.
You're having an identity crisis.
Sure am.
Okay, kind of Monroe, kind of Nick. You want to expound on that at all? Other than you like the season?
Monroe is definitely that's like why I gave the show a shot and kept watching it. I really enjoyed the storyline even more. That's why it would tip me towards Nick. I hate mixing more than one.
I know you do. You judge others for this.
But my name's Nick.
Not Burkhart.
That's true.
The listeners don't necessarily know that, though.
They do now.
They do.
And if they listen to our first episode in this Grimm series, they know.
Still my dream.
So welcome back, Nick, not Burkhart. I think.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm Kristen.
Hi, Kristen.
Hello.
Last time you were your famous combination
Yes.
of Nick, Monroe, and Rosalie.
Yes.
3.
I was all 3 because I could not decide. I think for season 6, even though I really enjoyed it, there were things I didn't like. And so I'm gonna go down to 2.
Oh.
I'm gonna be Rosalie and Monroe because I still love the world. I love all the history, and my friends watch it, which is why I'm here with my friends. And I don't know. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I'm always a big fan of any fairy tale retellings that they do. So I'm on board. So Nick, no.
Hi.
Nick. Not Burkhart. No, so I am Rosalie and Monroe for season 6.
Okay, I think. Welcome back, Kristen.
Thank you.
You're like their offspring. The triplets?
Yeah, sure, we can go with that.
We
Why aren't
can?
they an option?
Because they would never appeared except in utero. So
Okay.
there.
Yeah. There we go.
Welcome back, Kristen.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So that leaves me.
It does.
Hi, Jen.
Hi,
Hello.
Jen. Last time, Jen, you were a combination of Nick and Monroe.
That's
It's
what
going to be real exciting. I'm still Nick and Monroe.
Okay. Any reason why?
Nope.
This is going to be a real exciting podcast.
Yes, it is.
It already is.
Yep.
Welcome back, Jen.
Thanks.
I hope you say more later.
I hope so, too.
Yeah, I feel like you have control over that.
I agree.
Kylie, where are you?
Well, last time I was Nick, completely Nick, and as I sit here, I am still Nick. I love the show. I still love the show. I love the last season. I do think that season 5 was a little bit better, but I also think they were hampered by the shortened season, and I think that's what explains it. Although there was a lot of it was pretty intense this season, I thought. When I sat down to watch it, I was like, holy cow, this Grimm is like on speed or something. But it was good, and I liked it. And I loved it, in fact, and we're going to talk about why right now. So what did you think about season 6 overall?
I really enjoyed it. It felt like a well-told story. And I feel like they ended things pretty well for each character, except I had one problem with...
Is your problem the same as my problem?
I don't know, I can't read your mind.
I don't know, I wish we could have even had this connection.
I feel like he should have ended up with Juliet.
Yes, we were thinking the same thing. Thank you. I hate the fact that he ended up with Adeline.
Yeah.
Hate it. It was stupid. Because he's ending up with Juliet in real life because they're engaged and they're going to get married, the actors. And it's adorable, and they should have ended up character-wise because they grew a lot together and apart, and then it seemed like they were coming back together at the end, and then...
Yeah, I feel like they let it just hang, too. Like, there were moments, Hank was like, did he just call Eve Juliet? Yep, I smell trouble. But nothing came of it.
Yeah.
I think it would have been an easy transition, too.
I just feel like since they started out that way, they should end that way.
They were perfect together.
She shrugged after she said that.
I don't mind Adelaide, and I like what they did with the character. And maybe if they had more time, it would have felt... No, it feels terrible how Juliet... We get at the end, an epilogue almost, and it feels like, they're doing stuff, the triplets and the kids, and I feel like, where's Juliet?
Yeah,
in that
she wasn't
scenario?
mentioned.
And so I guess that upset me.
I don't have a strong feeling on the whole who should have Nick ended up with, because I guess it's because if you think about it, it's an interesting little bookend. When the series started, Adeline was a crazy hexen beast.
They were enemies.
And Juliet was the devoted live-in girlfriend, but she was also kind of whiny and insufferable as a character. And then at the end of the series, not that I loved Adeline, I still don't love Adeline very much as a character per se, but she did grow a lot. And I don't know, I don't have a strong feeling about it. I wasn't shipping either one, I guess. Although I do agree with Nick that, they sort of seeded the idea that maybe Juliet was coming back out of her subjugated personality cocoon, whatever that was, and was going to be at least some kind of barrier or obstacle for Nick and Adeline. I wasn't as concerned about the romance aspect of the story, to be quite honest with you. I was much more concerned with the mythological aspects of the story. But that's just me.
They even said, I think Rosalie said, don't mess with the mirrors unless somebody else is there. And she's like, I'm going to mess with the mirrors.
Yeah.
But
just call someone, they'll be over real quick.
I know.
She did that even before she was a hexen beast. She would just do things. Julia is kind of headstrong. / Eve.
But when you're dealing with a magical mirror with a demon head in it,
Who's
I
after
agree.
you in your blood or whatever.
I thought that was a weird choice.
Yeah.
Especially since somebody could have came and it could not have mattered when she tried because nobody else could get in until Nick was able to with the stick, but nobody else could. So she still would have been in there by herself. It just would have made her not as... I wasn't thinking of that as headstrong. It just seemed dumb. Careless.
Yeah. It seemed like she was just, I can do this by myself and I'm going to take care of it so Nick doesn't have to. And
That's where I get the headstrong.
yeah.
I think she felt like she was responsible. Like she needed to take care of it to protect them or whatever.
I think she did too. Yeah. I mean, they kind of talk about, as far as the stick, which of course we'll have to talk about the stick, because the stick got answers. But as far as the stick goes, and when they were trying to figure out the demon in the mirror, they were very specific about saying that this was kind of ordained by the prophecy that was mapped out on the papyrus around the stick with the constellation and all that. So it was almost as if she was fated to make that choice, no matter how dumb it was. So I bought it. Also, she was in a very complicated place because was she still Hex and Beast? Was she sort of getting her humanity back because the stick touched her?
I just always felt confused about the whole Hex and Beast, Eve, where she was, or how that worked. I was confused about Adelaide, too. Like, she lost her Hex and Beastness, but it was coming back, and I feel like the writers didn't decide to what extent it was coming back, or if it was coming back full, or what, because I don't know where that ended up either.
I think she was back as a full Hex and Beast, because the spell they used on her was just to suppress it at one point.
Yeah.
It didn't
Wore
take
out,
it away.
and they stopped
Yeah.
doing it.
It just, yeah.
Okay.
So let's talk about the stick. the big stick. Well, it was a little stick.
Wait, is this the Daredevil
That was
podcast?
part of a big stick.
Yeah.
Is it the Daredevil podcast? No, Nick, because we already do that. So the stick itself, what we find out is that the stick is but a shard of a larger staff. In fact, Moses' staff. And that it has the power both to heal and to destroy, particularly when it's used by the demon in the mirror, which is entitled Zerstörer, which is German for destroyer, in case you didn't know that. And essentially we find out that it's bounced around through history, but eventually the Grimm and the Crusades find this shard after Zerstörer was imprisoned, essentially, in the mirror world, which is some sort of hell or heaven, I'm not quite sure, for Vessen.
It was flipped, right?
It was flipped. It was like our world, but Vessen are permanently in their vogue state there, although they're also humans, really primitive humans who speak German in this place. But he has the staff, and he's trying to get back to this world for a number of reasons, but the big draw is the shard to complete the staff. So what did you think about all of that neato mythology going on?
I guess I missed the part where it said it was of Moses, the staff.
It was
I
in,
don't
like,
remember that.
It was in the last 3
I'm not
episodes.
saying it didn't, but I totally missed that.
Yeah, it was mentioned.
So how did he get it then?
How did who get it?
The guy,
The destroyer.
monster. Yeah, destroyer dude.
They talked about how
Moses.
He's not Moses. They talk about how it gets passed around it through history. Right. So I don't know if they spelt out how he particularly got it, but they mentioned the bits about how, like, for example, David used the staff to slay Goliath, for example.
I do remember that part. I do remember that.
And it's just this whirlwind of Monroe kind of talking through all the different things that they found, and I think Eve is there too, because they've been researching through the books, but it's actually mentioned that it's Moses' staff. It was just a one-hand comment.
Yeah, I messed it.
But I keyed into it because I was like, oh, that's weird and awesome at the same time.
It is weird, but
So what do you think? Everybody's flummoxed.
I mean, I don't mind any of it. I don't mind the stick or the staff. I feel like this whole season, mythology-wise, wasn't drawing from too much, so that there was just an offhanded... It was Moses' staff. I don't know if there is a better explanation of its existence than Moses' staff. I don't know. I think it's weird that they went biblical with it a little bit.
Why?
I feel like that the staff was like imbued with God's power in the Bible, and I feel like we didn't really deal with that throughout the whole series. Like, everything else is just myths and folklore.
Yeah, because the only time that really even came into play was when they healed Juliet with it, and it somehow completely cleansed her, and like she didn't even have like her Hex and Beast powers for a little bit there, and or was that permanent that she didn't have her Hex and Beast powers?
They never really came back strong. They were weakened. Like for a while, she didn't have.
For a while, she didn't have.
And then they did start to come back, but they weren't like they were before.
Yeah.
Well,
like,
she had the Hex and Beast powers. She didn't have the Hex and Beast powers when they apparently came back through the portal the first time. After they had gone to the mirror world and then came back, she was completely devoid.
Well, yeah, she didn't have it then, yeah.
But I think after the stick touched her, she didn't know how to almost use it for a minute, but it wasn't as if it had gone away.
Yeah.
she was still using her magic at some point. So you think it's weird that it went biblical?
Just overall for a theme, but it didn't bother me because I don't. If you asked me, I would not have remembered that. That it was Moses' staff.
Well, it was mentioned very casually.
Right.
And the only reason I picked up on it was because that's the part of it I was most interested in.
Oh, guess I wasn't. I don't know. The season came out. I feel like it came out with a bang. The first 3 episodes felt like an awesome movie where Renard was kind of the villain, and
Yeah, I didn't like that. So
Yeah, let's talk about this.
That made me kind
He
of
keeps
upset.
flip-flopping multiple times over the course.
That was the
But
problem
this
I had
time
with the
was
season.
like it stuck, and I didn't like it at all.
I didn't mind it. I just always looked at him as a villain the whole series, even, well, not at the very beginning, we didn't know, but once he kind of was a villain, in my mind I just was like, well, don't trust him unless you have to.
But he wasn't really a villain until season 5 and Black Claw tempting him towards the mayorship. And then it just became like this weird, I guess, power thing.
But that was always his quest for the coins, was how his character really started, or we started to learn him to become this powerful person who envisioned himself as almost like a Hitler-like person. We would see into his mind when he would either touch the coins or dream about getting the coins. So I think it played back to that he was power hungry, and when people are around feeding his ego, he let it get to him.
I guess I forgot that. And I guess it makes sense in the sense that he's one of the royal family and they all kind of have this leaning. I don't understand why he turned around and hated Nick so much. They seemed to get along for a while.
I feel like that didn't come up to the Black Claw. They had to take sides.
But then even when Black Claw was destroyed, he was still determined to...
I think he was determined to be in charge of... It seemed like he was trying to be in charge of Black Claw, and whether or not there was in trouble, like she left to fight other aspects of Black Claw.
Yes.
So they just destroyed Black Claw and...
Off screen, and everything was good.
I think he was trying to be their leader. I don't remember.
I just watched it, and I did not have that clear of a... The whole read on the Sean character and his arc, ever since he came back from his Jack the Ripper situation, just let me...
So weird.
Spring-heeled Jack.
Whatever. I don't care what his name is. What I do care about is that it seemed to change his character in a way they failed to explain. That, I think, was kind of a drop ball on the writer's part.
I agree with you. It just didn't bother me.
I see.
I loved Rosalie's cure for the death grip when Juliet was stuck. What? The guy was...
Trying
was the guy dead?
He was trying to...
He was
trying to
dead.
pull her into the mirror.
And she she went to go get something, and Monroe was like, "You know how to cure this?" And she just cut his hand off.
Yep. Because Rosalie is
sense.
badass. That's why she's one of my favorite characters.
She is one of mine too.
So what about Diana?
I'm glad she wasn't like the big bad of the season.
Yeah.
That would have been like
Weird.
predictable and boring to me in ways.
And the little children of the corn.
Yeah.
But they still had those moments.
They
Yeah,
did.
they did.
Like her playing with when that one cop kidnapped her, and Renard was like, "Meh."
She's
He could have cared a little more. It like took no time at all.
But he also knows that his daughter's going to be able to take care of herself, and that pretty much that.
But it was his one weekend with her.
I was a little confused
He was like,
by
"Not
that.
fine with
Yeah,
it."
she's fine.
Was that what we were supposed to read? Was that all
I
that was okay
went
with
back
it?
to watch it. Like, what? Wait, why is he? What? His kid was still kidnapped. I don't know. It was weird. It was a strange choice in how they showed it. Even if he got to the point of, it'll be okay, he should have still went and picked up his kid and spent the weekend with her.
I honestly thought he was under some sort of like magic.
Oh, I didn't
Like,
go
because
that
he was
far.
all distraught, and then all of a sudden he was not distraught. And it was so, like, at the switch. See? They did no services for the Sean character this season.
No, he like shrugged his shoulders and smiled when he realized she was gone.
Yeah.
It was an odd moment. Because he seems to like his daughter. Like that. And then her playing with the cop like a cat with a mouse was fun.
That was interesting.
That was interesting.
And I enjoyed, they didn't overuse Diana, which they could have, because she's basically all-powerful. I don't know where they landed on her with the end of the season or in the epilogue. Is she good? Is she bad? What?
Diana?
Didn't
Yeah.
really say.
She's good.
I mean, well, yeah.
Because in the epilogue, it's her and Kelly, and she's like,
Yeah.
"Hey, come on, Mom and Dad are waiting. We got some
Okay.
Vesson to kill." So she's good. She's on the side of good with Nick.
Okay.
I think they were just setting her up because she's also part of the prophecy. She's supposed to be this child bride of Gestor, who then, kind of like the Antichrist, if he gets with her somehow, which is creepy in and of itself.
That was real
Very
creepy. I had a hard time.
And we should mention that Gestor, in his human form, is played by Will Trevall
Yes.
of Jessica Jones.
Yes.
Which is, I mean, you mentioned Daredevil, so we might as well throw in the actual connection. So, if they are to get together on this side of the mirror, Gestor will destroy the world. Destroy the world, that's where he gets his name. I don't know where Destroyer came from, or how he even materialized into being. They didn't explain that.
No,
Yeah, they didn't go into
No,
that
they
at all. I
didn't.
kind of wish they would have.
But Diana being this figurehead in the prophecy is basically how she ends up being so powerful. Again, a fated thing. Are you pondering what I'm pondering?
Well,
We might be.
I think so, Brian.
how did we feel about I call them Monsters of the Week. Like, we went from the first 3 and kind of resolving with the Renard versus Renard battle in the 3rd episode. And then we get a couple, they felt like literally X-Files to me.
Yeah, there's the El Quegle, who abducts this baby because he sees his future, and the future is he's going to be kind of homicidal.
Yeah, he's gonna murder his parents.
And then there's the park founder, who's actually an insect of some sort in Vesson form.
Which felt exactly like Too Shy.
Yeah, it was pretty, except without the fat thing. That was gross. But he does eat, I mean, we don't see him eating the fat, but he does want to eat large women.
Yes.
So that's a big
And then
parallel.
a weird, strange hippo Vesson that we've never heard of before ends up just biting him in half at the end.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yay,
that
hippo Vesson.
was a weird ending.
That was weird.
Doesn't she say, like, "Oh, so you're a Grimm"? Like, she did that in front of him without knowing.
Yeah. And then there was a lamprey-like Vesson who stole sleep.
Was that the Alp?
The Alp.
The dad
Yes.
from Boy Meets World was in that.
He was.
I didn't even catch that.
And did you?
Yeah, William Russ.
Yes.
Yeah.
You didn't catch that.
Sorry. It
Not
was
a
a
Boy Meets
little
World
old
thing.
for Boy Meets
Yeah, I've
World.
never seen
In that episode,
Thank you, Jen. We're in the Gen X people.
in that episode, there's that creepy old man in the hallway that I think we're all supposed to think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then he laughs creepily at the end.
Red herring.
That's it.
Big red
And that's
herring.
Red herring.
That's the dad from Boy Meets World?
No, I was just saying that.
He was the owner of the hotel.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was the... Well, no. Wasn't it the one?
No,
No.
sorry. He was the manager.
Manager.
No, that was
Manager.
the woman that was the...
He was the manager. He was the one that
Yeah.
was there every day and
Yeah.
turned into some sort of Vesson at the end and got killed.
I don't think the
The
old
red
man
hair.
turned into
didn't
anything.
turn
He
into-
did.
He just watched it all happen. And
Not the old man, the
Oh.
Boy Meets World dad.
Oh,
we would
He
know.
got killed at
you
the end.
transitioned weird.
Yeah.
I didn't
Which
follow you.
I'm following. I got you. I got you.
No, I thought the red herring was weird. Like what? He's just laughing at the end, maniacally, because he was just watching everything play out.
I think so. I think he saw it happen, and
Yeah.
he's an invalid, and he couldn't talk, so he couldn't say anything.
But he could laugh.
But he could just laugh.
I thought that one ended weak, though. Like, I feel like the Alp, they cornered her, and she was like, well, what are you going to do? Are you going to just murder me? And then they wrote it where, well, she better attack so he has a reason to kill her. That's what that one felt like to me at the end. I still enjoyed these episodes.
And then there was also the zombie Vesson, caused by scientists' experimentation with reanimating corpses, which was very Frankenstein-like.
One of their names was like
I don't even
Victor.
remember that one.
Yeah.
You don't remember that one? His son had died, and he
Yeah.
he ended up using
yeah.
Vesson
Bought
parts.
corpses,
Yeah,
well,
not
bought
realizing.
corpses, didn't realize he got Vesson parts.
Right, yeah, he didn't
Because how was he supposed to
Yeah.
know? Okay, that's coming back now.
That was very Frankenstein.
It was almost two. Like, I feel like somebody's name was Shelley after Mary Shelley. I
Yes.
think his
yeah.
name was.
Yep.
Yeah,
It was Victor was bringing Shelley's son back to life.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
character's name
Yeah,
was
I
Victor.
never picked up on that.
What?
Well,
Flew on the nose.
Now you're saying it, I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah,
Few
no,
on the
they-
nose.
I'm always
Callbacks.
after the fact. I'm always late to the party.
But better late than never.
You're at the party? Jeez. It's a party up in here.
One of the fun parts of that episode is it's like a Hank and Woo case. They're solving together.
Oh, Hank and Woo. Woo.
Yeah, I like that.
I love Hank and Woo.
The weird thing, though, was when they found out that the mortician was selling body parts, they were just like, don't let that happen again.
Yeah.
Like, what? Isn't that illegal? Like, you're not allowed to sell human...
Yeah, but they were bilking him for information, and they put the fear of God in him.
Yeah.
Look, it's not always on the up and up with the Portland PD. They have to disguise these Vesson things. So I bought it, and it was funny. There was the trees episode,
There was.
which was distinctly X-Files-like as well.
A lot of them. Like,
Yeah.
I ended... When I got finished this season, I really enjoyed it, but I was also okay with it being over. Because this season, more than every season, has a couple pulls from the X-Files, because the X-Files went on for so long. There's going to be similarities, and Grimm doing it their own way, I'm fine with. But like this one, there were a lot, it felt like, and there weren't that many episodes. But I
liked the trees one.
So
though.
did I.
I did too.
I thought it was really spooky. They were all working together. I loved the fact that they actually made the tree with the faces in it.
Yeah,
that was really scary and creepy. That's all I have to say about that. And then there's the doctor who takes the lives of Vesson with dementia. Do you remember that?
was sad.
Yeah, I thought that was sad.
That got me.
was-
That got me really. It hit close to home.
It was an interesting look at different aspects of Vesson life, though. Like, I enjoyed it from that sense, because I guess that makes sense. When people get old,
Yeah, if they're
Yeah,
all,
it
if all
totally-
they
their
don't
faculties
remember
aren't
their
there.
Yeah.
their
it
house.
totally made
They
sense
leave. They what
that
like,
they would
and
have
if
to
you turn into some sort of
Keep
murderous
everything
creature,
in check. By
Yeah,
that's
Eliminating
probably what's
them.
gonna happen.
right. That was probably one of my favorite.
Yeah, I really
episodes.
liked
It
that
just-
episode.
It was so well done, and it was an emotional episode that Grimm doesn't normally do. So that was kind of a nice departure from their norm.
Yeah, it started off a little weak, I thought. I
season?
remember no, that
That's
episode.
the other one, yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, just in terms of it was, sort of your standard Fright Night attack and orderly kind of thing, but they did kind of bring it around a full circle pretty well, which I liked. What about the Cupid episode?
That was fun.
That was awkward.
The one where
they all
the
go to the hotel.
Oh yeah, I liked that one.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny.
I thought it was funny, too.
I thought it was.
I love how Hank
cute.
fell in love with himself.
Oh yes, every time that was the
He
best.
like in the mirror and
Yes.
he
I
needed
love
some
it.
self-love. He was
That
overly reliant on women who mistreated him.
yeah. But out of any, because I mean that's kind of a fun storyline to play with, and the fact that they chose it for Hank
Right.
was perfection.
And he's saying, "Let's get it on"
He
to himself
did.
and the mirror.
But the actor was perfect for it.
Yeah.
He played that to a T, and I absolutely loved it. It was a highlight.
I enjoyed that whole episode. I thought,
Me too,
oh,
yeah.
good. They were putting a farce in there, which is sort of X-Files-like in its choice and tempo and where they stuck it in the season, but it's okay because it was funny.
That's the one where we first see the demon head too.
Is it? It is, yeah. They see him before
Oh,
they
yeah.
go.
And I was really
Yeah.
glad that there wasn't a whole episode of people thinking Juliet was crazy. They let Nick see it right away as well.
Yeah, that was nice.
Wu was real creepy though.
Oh, he
Hitting
was.
on,
Yeah.
hitting on the
The waitress.
yeah.
Yeah, constantly.
So he must be a lycanthrope forever.
Yeah,
They
that's what I
never
was
they
gonna
never
say.
did they?
it.
They yeah.
I mean,
I think it's
Got
just
cured
it's who he is
or-
now.
Yeah.
That's his life.
I
That,
kinda
that
think-
whole thing was just. I'm sorry. That was just weird. The whole changing into looked like a caveman to me.
Yeah.
Like it didn't look like a lycanthrope. That
Yeah.
What does a
I've ever seen
lycanthrope
before.
look like?
Well, that's
Well,
usually the word for werewolf.
Werewolf.
I always feel like Bloopbot is Grimm's version of
It is, I think, but
It's
yeah.
their
So that's
version
probably
of,
why
it's
they
their
had
version
a
of the
different-
wolf, though.
Yeah,
not
I think the wolf, like
Where-
the big
Little Red
bad
Riding
wolf.
Hood, yeah.
I don't know, but what Wu wasn't anything close to that. I
Yeah.
just thought it was ugly caveman looking dude.
Yeah, he looked
It
like a
didn't-
caveman to me too.
I didn't like that part for him. Like, thought it was a bad decision. Bad writers, shame on you.
Or is it bad visual effects supervisor?
Could be that too.
I'm just saying.
Or just the, what is that?
Costume and makeup?
Yeah, like the concept designers, like whoever is in charge of what like the art department. Whoever in the art department decides what these hex and beasts and lycanthropes and things look like. They just made a bad choice.
But my question is, why did Wu even have to have something like that did they feel that his character wasn't
Didn't
doing
have
enough, wasn't strong enough, that wasn't interesting enough, so they just had to throw that in? Because I thought he was
If that's
fine
why they
without
did it, I don't
think
think
he
it
was
made. They didn't do enough with it. For
No.
that. It was
Yeah.
just something that was there that kind of happened once in a while.
Yeah.
Right. Well, especially because they already had like a mortal, like Juliet. She changed into a Hexen beast. Because that's kind of standard. It's one member of the team is going to become something else.
And I
So
think
you're right, it's either
with her, that
extra-
made her character better.
It did. It gave her
With
personality.
Wu, I think it made it worse or just the same. Like, I didn't think it really
No, I agree.
benefited it at all.
I agree as well. Sometimes, though, I think they struggled with the Wu character, generally speaking,
Yeah.
because he was sort of the wisecracker that came on the scene, assessed the crime, but then he would go off or he would see crazy things and go crazy. I think they didn't know what to do.
The last to
Yeah.
find out what was actually going on, so it's hard to delve deeper into that kind of character.
Yeah.
But they could have once he was in on it, part of the Scooby Gang.
Yeah, they could have done.
Our Buffy parallel now, which is not hard to do.
It's a Scooby parallel. I know.
Considering that David Greenwald is one of the creators and produced Buffy and co-created Angel.
I did love, I think it's the tree one, but I'm not sure if at the end the whole gang was like helping Nick craft the entry for future generations of Grimm.
Yeah, they restored with a modern, updated trailer and new books
Oh, yeah.
and all of that. That was kind of neat to see that restored.
Are you talking about the epilogue?
No,
He was talking about the trees.
there's a different part where Nick is making the entry in the trees because I don't think any Grimm really understood what happened before, and
Right.
they were all like helping him. No, use this word or different sentences,
Oh, okay.
and I like them all
Okay, I getcha.
working together.
I agree.
I bet a Grimm will live longer if he works with a team.
Yeah.
It's true. He would, or she. How did you feel about the way the series ended? Was it satisfying to you? Why or why not? Would you like me to read the paragraph here? I will for the listener.
Sure.
Just bear with me.
Enlighten the listener.
We will. So Zestorer, or the Destroyer, ends up killing everyone. This is the final episode. He starts off killing everyone that Nick loves. Well, in the second to last episode, it sort of starts. He hits the precinct, and he gets Wu and Hank. He gets Juliet at the spice shop. He gets Sean and Adeline at the cabin where he first met Monroe, or first worked with Monroe.
The pilot episode.
Yep, where they were hiding out Diana and Kelly. And then he hits Monroe and Rosalie, who kind of catch up and are helping sort of to fight. And then he also gets Trouble. Trouble arrives at the last, and he gets her as well. And the whole point that we find out is he's trying to basically convince Nick to give him the shard stick so that he can complete the staff, which he needs, but Nick has to be the one to give it to him freely. He can't just take it. And he needs it to fulfill this big prophecy with the child bride and the staff and the destroying the world. Nick actually contemplates this for a minute until Trouble basically starts to, I'm not going to let that happen, and they get into this brawl. She's fighting Nick. Nick actually bests Trouble, and then as he's on his way back, ready to give the shard, he meets the, I don't know what they are, spirit, embodiment, Walking Dead, the people that he knows and is closest to, the Grimm in his life, his mom Kelly, played by Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio, and his Aunt Marie, who came back. They appear and they convince him not only to do what's right, but to go into battle. They actually go into battle with him. They fight alongside him and Trouble, the Destroyer. Except Trouble doesn't see them. Diana sees them, Nick sees them, and the Destroyer sees them, but Trouble doesn't see them. This fight leads to the Destroyer's defeat, and then Nick decides he's going to revive everyone with the staff, but before that happens, he gets sucked through the portal and ends up back in Monroe and Rosalie's house at the moment, we think, where him and Juliet initially came back through the first time from the mirror world. And they find everybody alive and everything, except the staff is there too, which is different. What's also different is before Nick gets sucked into the portal, when he's sort of crying over Adeline's corpse, he removes the cursed engagement ring from her finger, which she also doesn't have when he returns the second time. Only Diana and Nick know what really happened, but he's all happy and it's all teary-eyed, and it's clearly one of those Cass goodbye moments. And then we also learn that Eve, who came back the first time not a Hexen Beast, came back the second time a full Hexen Beast and was fine. And of course Nick and Adeline end up together. So what do we think about all this? I wrote in the talking points, did we just watch Grimm's version of Inception? Where were they? What happened? Where did he come back to? Was this all real? Was it not real? Did they even get sucked through the first time, or were they in the Vesson hell heaven world the whole time?
I think it all happened.
I do too. I don't think there's anything that indicated it didn't happen, especially if Diana knows that it happened.
Yeah.
I think there's more confusion. I guess it's easy to just put aside and accept it because it brought 2 characters back that were dead, but...
Brought all the characters back.
No, I'm sorry. I had more of an issue with, was Kelly and Aunt Marie there or not? If they were there and just couldn't be seen, Trouble should have been seeing, like, the Destroyer being beaten up by invisible people. Or if they were, like, I would have preferred it if it was just in Nick's head. Like, his ancestors, like, it was just a metaphor for his lineage bringing him to this point. And I almost would have rather, even though they'd be people we'd never met before, like other Grimms from the past, from different decades and even centuries, being there. Even though that starts feeling like a Harry Potter moment. But
A little bit.
I still feel like that might have been more powerful and then at least been less confusing as to... Because they were there. If Diana could see them, I feel like they were definitely there, but Trouble not being able to was...
Yeah, I didn't understand why Trouble couldn't see them.
It made it real awkward for me.
Why couldn't
Well,
she?
Diana's her own thing, and they're part of Nick's bloodline, and while Trouble is distantly related, it's not a direct part of her bloodline.
That's why.
So maybe...
But if they were there
Yeah,
beating
that's
him
why.
up, beating the Destroyer up, she should have... there could have been something like, what was going on?
No, but she's also really focused on her own fighting, and she wants to defeat him. She's not going to be distracted by, why is his arm being raised in the air? You know, I don't think she's thinking that way. I think she's really just focused on herself and her attacks and defending herself.
Okay.
It's that suspension of disbelief. You just kind of have to...
I was able to, in the moment, just go along with it, but whether or not I like the whole getting sucked back into the mirror and the thing undoing everything, I don't mind it, but I definitely, as it happened, was like, wait, what?
Yes.
You're going to pull that at the end?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's how that felt. Even though, at the end of the 12th episode, when Wu and Hank die, it really felt like,
I cried.
they're probably going to kill off a character.
My jaw hit the
2 is
floor
weird.
when Hank died.
Yeah.
I figured one of them was not going to make it out, but I did not think it was going to be Hank.
Yeah.
But then once the 3rd
got
person
no
died,
emotion.
and then the 4th, I knew something was going to happen to bring him back.
I was emotional though, and I didn't
Yeah.
expect
No, at the end of the
anybody to
12th,
bring
I
them
thought
back.
at the end of the 12th episode, I thought, whoa! I thought they would just kill one character off, not 2. And then as the last episode went on, and he kept killing more people, there's got to be some way they'll bring them back. Like the stick will work once the Destroyer's dead, or something. They chose being sucked into the mirror, but there was just not much weight on the rest of their deaths, because it got to a point where like, well, let's kill the rest of them, because I don't know. I didn't think they would end it with the whole cast dead.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I agree with you. It became obvious as everybody kept dying that there was probably going to be a turnaround. Although I will say that after the 12th episode, I had to talk myself into the 13th one because I was like kind of bawling. Really sad.
It took me a
I
minute.
was.
Especially for Hank. Wu I could have sort of
Yeah, it was.
accepted as collateral damage
Yeah.
just because...
And almost freeing him of the lycanthrope curse.
That's right. That stupid curse. It really shouldn't have befallen him.
If this was a Joss Whedon show, one person would have been dead.
It's true. And, David Greenwalt was duly influenced by Joss, clearly. I'm going to agree, I'm going to disagree, but not vehemently, because I get how you were feeling, because at the time, you're right, when I was watching the 13th episode and everything unfolding, I felt like there was a combination of wait, what? Like you were saying, but also I was totally suspended in disbelief because of all the feels that were happening. It's the last thing, they're bringing all the people back, but I couldn't quite suspend disbelief with Kelly and Aunt Marie. I kept asking myself, why are they here? How are they here? And it would have been cool if they just sort of appeared and then did the talking with him and walked into it and maybe sort of was there in the battle, not necessarily partaking in the battle. It would have made a little bit more sense, whether other Grimm appeared or not. At least,
I agree with you.
Yeah, those two being there made sense to me. But as far as what I still struggle with is them coming back through the portal. Like, why did we have to go back? That's why I was confused. Were they really there the whole time? Or were they in the Vesson world?
I think they were really there the whole time.
Yeah,
I think the only reason to do that is to
give us a point of, okay, where are they in time? I don't know.
They had to bring everyone back to life. There was like an obvious option with the staff.
That's what I'm saying.
But I feel like, did the staff no longer work? Because it didn't work on Hank, but was that just the stick? I can't remember.
It was just the stick.
It was just the stick, and it didn't work on Hank when Gestora was alive because he had the rest of the staff and could basically control the shard a little bit.
So I kind of feel like it would have been a stronger choice to not do that and to be able to just bring them back.
I don't know. I like the way they did it. It seems like, either way they were going to come back to life, whether Nick used the stick, but there was also no guarantee that it would work the way that it did, because that was a destroyer death and not a bullet or a stab wound like we'd seen before. So maybe it wouldn't have worked.
And how did the portal even open? Like, when did that happen?
I think it's just something, I don't know.
That's what my brain starts to do when I'm watching it. Like, what, why? How did that happen?
You have to assume that there's some sort of power within the staff, and it's like, oh, okay, my former master's dead, you have me, well, let's send you back to a better time. I don't know. I like that the portal opened and he got sucked through and then everything was essentially reset, but for the better. It just, for me, that made sense. It was the battle. Yes, it did happen because Nick and Diana remember it.
And have the staff, and Adeline doesn't have the ring.
Exactly.
Any thoughts, Jen?
No, it was confusing for me when how did they get that portal open? I thought I'd missed something. But I did like them getting sucked through it. For a minute, I thought that maybe they were in the future and coming back to the past or the present. You know what I mean? Like that was what they were going to be like, and so they had a chance to go back and fix it. That's what I was thinking was going to happen, but obviously it didn't. But that would have been a cool twist. Here's your glimpse of what's going to happen, so you better fix it.
I don't know. I'm glad they did the epilogue. Because without the epilogue, I would have been slightly dissatisfied with the way they ended it. Even though everybody was back alive, it just felt too pat, too neat. But the epilogue kind of made it worth it. So just to let the listener know, spoiler, of course, at this point it jumps 20 years into the future, and we see who is clearly Kelly Jr., that's what I'm calling him, Kelly the son, riding in the Grimm books in a brand new trailer with all new weapons and all new cool Grimm stuff. And he's talking about the heroics that Nick and the gang undertook with the Destroyer. He also mentions that Trouble is Nick's third cousin on his mother's side, which I caught. And then Diana comes in. She's all grown up and basically, like Kristen said, says, Mom and Dad and the triplets, quote unquote, because Rosalie and Monroe have triplets. What are they? We don't know, but they're triplets.
We don't know if they're girls, boys.
Fuchsbau, Bluebatten, Bluebau.
I just think they need to do a spin-off and explain all that.
Jen was pitching this before we turned the recording on.
I think they should. It made me want to continue the story with the kids.
Yeah.
They could do so much. Netflix should just pick it up and do that.
Or Hulu would be great for Hulu too.
Or
Amazon Prime. I don't care. Somebody continue the saga.
It doesn't even have to be a full-fledged season. Just do a
movie
series or
something.
Everyone's doing that now.
Everybody's doing that now. It is in vogue. Get it? So what'd you think?
I was waiting for Madonna to guest star.
So what'd you think of the epilogue?
I agree that it kind of felt necessary, even though...
Yeah, I liked it, but I wanted more. I wanted to see the triplets. I wanted to know what the other characters were up to, like Hank and Wu and Juliet and even Sean. I don't know. It felt good but incomplete.
Would you have rather there wasn't one?
No.
No, it needed one.
Yeah, just could have been a little bit longer of the end, Instead of the last 3 minutes, it could have been
the last 10
minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because they can go over their time slot, especially with it being the last episode. I think NBC would have given them the okay to go over their time slot by 5 or 10 minutes. They've done it before.
That's it? That's all you have to say? I hope they come back somehow. I would like to see them come back, but people have jobs. No, they've already picked up 2, well, I think you said 2. I know David Gentoli has another project.
Mm-hmm. Well, they don't even, as much as I would love to have David in it, he doesn't even have to be part of it. Just be the kids.
They could
their
just
own
be the
thing.
kids, yeah.
I don't know, he's really hot, though.
Well, yes.
That's
but
part of it for me. I'm just saying. Well, this is a very reserved Grimm podcast.
It was a short season.
It was a short
season.
season.
Well, that's where everybody gets enthusiastic. Too short?
Yes.
Yes, too short.
Yeah.
No. I was fine with it.
Okay.
Because some of the monsters of the week were almost getting in the way. I feel like after we saw the demon, which turned out to be the Destroyer, I kind of wanted to just keep getting to that. So I didn't need more to get in the way of it. If you wanted one more episode for the end, I could handle that, but I didn't need 24. I really like this show, but I don't mind that it's over. I think they ended it fairly well, so I'm not missing it. I will rewatch it.
Jen, your lower lip is hanging
I
out.
am missing it. It was probably the favorite show for me. I just...
There's some good shows out there.
Yes, and I watched them, but not like this one. This came out on a Friday night. I was Saturday morning on Hulu. I was watching it.
Yeah, that was me too.
So why was this your favorite show?
I don't know, because when it first started, I really didn't like it. It did take me a little bit to get into it, but I guess the whole, different... It was its own thing. It was so different than anything I'd watched with, all of the Besson and all of that. And German. I'm German, so...
So you felt a kinship to it?
I did. I felt a kinship.
Was that your thing too, Nick? You're
Because I
half
was German? I don't think that had much to do with it. As much as I bring up the overlap with the X-Files, that's also probably its similarities in structure and kind of style is one of the reasons I like it.
It's a retelling. Of course I'm going to love it.
That's all she needs.
That's all I need. And, I mean, this is probably getting more into our Looking Back podcast, but... I started watching it live from day one, and, I was really intrigued right away. It was like CSI meets Fairy Tale Land, and, I don't know, I was hooked, and there were points that it stumbled in the middle, and where they kind of lost the mythology and lost their direction, and there's still a ton of unanswered questions that still bother me to this day.
Such as?
The rest of the keys. Who the hell are the Royals?
Yeah, that's
never
my number one question.
They built them up to be these like ultimate bad guys, and then they're like, no, we're gonna swerve the other way.
I mean, they killed the king. Maybe that was it.
But we never found out who they were, what they were.
His sons were still
royals.
Kicking around.
Yeah, we didn't know if they
Wesley
were
Wyndham Price was all in it.
Yeah.
I kept saying Wesley Wyndham Price.
I know. But yes, that's one of my big things is who were the Royals, and I was just really disappointed that they never answered because it was such a big part of the mythology very early on. Just like they had undead Nick for a while, and then they barely touched on it after that, and I wanted to know more about that.
I feel like the unanswered questions is the reason I'm fine. Like, you want more because of it, and it just felt like part of the show.
I mean, they could even, like, the creators and the showrunners, they could even just come out with a little, like, paragraph explanation and I'd be happy. That would be fine.
A comic book.
Yeah, sure.
Like Buffy did.
I don't know, whatever.
Or does. I feel like they're still making comics.
There's comic books, yes. Yeah. Graphic novels.
Yeah, but I liked it. I think I'm going to miss it. There's not a lot of interesting shows that are coming around this upcoming television season that I feel like are going to be taking their place of Grimm. So it'll be a hole, I think, that will not be filled.
Yes, I think the major networks, or at least a couple of them, are shying away from genre shows for the time being. And I don't know why. They're not
the
smart.
Networks.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not exactly sure what's going on where. And I think NBC is at least still trying. They're still trying to find a formula that works. They're getting a little bit better, and they're finding more shows. They did resurrect a show called Timeless,
Yay!
which was created by Eric Kripke, that they canceled and then brought back from the brink
Because
literally
the
after they
fans
canceled.
outraged. We were outraged because it's a very smartly written show that you don't see. It's historically accurate with the twist, but it's also very smartly written.
And there's a sci-fi aspect to it,
Yes.
so there's genre specific, and maybe what I'm anticipating might happen is they're going to bump that to Friday. I love Grimm. I think that for my purposes, I'm okay with it where it landed. It would be cool if they made more. I would watch it if they did. I don't think they will. I think the creators they're ready to move on. The thing is, this show has enough of a fandom that these actors are going to be Comic-Con and other convention type regulars probably for a while, because it has its own following and its own name, Grimmsters, and that's good. I think that it also brought to the forefront the Brothers Grimm and other literature that inform the stories, which is nice. And if you really want to dive deep into some of the mythological aspects, you can go find yourself some books to read and read the books. P.S. There's also an expanded universe, which I researched. I almost bought you all a copy of one of the books, but there's 3 books have been written to expand the universe. Actual books, not comic books, as far as Grimm is concerned, that they wrote during, the run of the show. They're not like now, but I'm okay with it being done. I don't know if there's much more they could have eked out of it. I think they were running out of Vesson to, brand new ones anyway. And my biggest thing was the mythology, the keys, starting with the keys all the way on up. I just wanted a really good button for that. And I feel like we got a decent one. I don't know if it was really good, but we got a decent one. So that's kind of where I landed with it. But I really enjoyed it. I don't even know if I would say it's like one of my favorite shows, but I really, really love it.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it.
Wow. Jen, you can have it be your favorite show.
It is my favorite show.
Well, there you go. Forever and always, of all time, more than any other show you've ever watched.
I feel like you just didn't grow up watching X-Files.
No, I did. I liked X-Files.
That's better.
Or Buffy.
And I love Buffy. Okay, so it's not my all-time. I watched Buffy twice, all the way through. The whole
Just twice?
Yeah.
Nice.
I lost count of X-Files.
I know, between those 2 shows.
I've only seen Buffy once.
Oh, I've watched Buffy a lot.
Twice.
I'm watching it again in
I'm
anticipation of our
getting ready to
series. So,
Still have to watch Angel.
yeah, you do.
You ever watched Angel?
We started it.
I don't think I finished it either, actually.
Oi, seasons 4 and 5 are the best. Keep trying.
I think I had to 3.
See, everybody got all hung up when Cordelia was becoming a demon.
Yes,
Just keep going.
That's it. That's right where I landed.
Just keep going.
Seems like a spoiler. Somebody just said I'm watching it for the first time.
You'll forget. Regarding Grimm Season 6, is there anything else you want to say? Obviously, we will have a second episode in the series looking back at the whole thing, but as far as Season 6, do you have anything else you wish to say that we haven't already said?
Nope.
I think I'm good.
I think I'm good.
Bye-bye.
That is my line? There's more to it?
She has to read the button first.
I have to read the button first, which goes like this. CPU is produced by Back Pocket Productions, run by yours truly, Chief Couch Potato, and hails from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Please, if you like what you hear, take the time to rate us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, or Google Play. That means give us stars. We have a preferred number, but we'll leave you to your own devices. You can also write a review or comment on YouTube. This way we spread the word most effectively. If you have suggestions on shows we might consider, contact us at our website, couchpotatoesunite.wordpress.com, via email at couchpotatoesunitepodcast@gmail.com. I do check and look, you know. Or via Facebook and Twitter, though we're adding new and old shows to chat about around the water cooler all the time. As always, we have several more new episodes coming down the pike, and they're available and searchable via the web, those older episodes that we've already done. We're everywhere. Make sure you subscribe to our blog, our channels, our social media, stay up on our new events and episodes. Grimm can be streamed on Amazon Prime through season 5. They have the contract. The NBC streaming app currently contains season 6, and that will be the only legal place you can watch it until September, though I anticipate Amazon will probably pick up season 6 after that. For now, CPU's All Grimm coverage comes to an almost close. We're going to look back at the whole series in our next episode. Make sure you stay tuned, keep listening, keep watching. Bye-bye.